Welcome to Global Bones podcast, where companies cross borders. In today's episode, we are interviewing a professional from the Netherlands who is in charge of partnerships across Europe. We talk about data, customer behavior, and how cultural differences influence users when purchasing a product or a service. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hello, Rutgher. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning, Oscar. I'm doing fine. How are you?
Yeah, all good, all good. Thank you very much. Could you please introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what's your career and what are you doing at Retail Rocket, please?
Yeah, of course, of course. So I am the European Partner Manager for Retail Rocket. Recently started, of course, to give you an idea of what I've been doing. Since 2017, I have been working in e-commerce in various roles, from sales to partnership roles, where I was part of a management team, setting up a sales structure. And then I went on from, let's say, selling the product itself to finding the softwares behind it. And this is where I found my passion, and that I understood that there are so many interesting tools, interesting services that are available in the e-commerce landscape. And that got my passion. So at some point, I started working at a company called Channel Engine, which is a marketplace integrator, where I was doing sales and account management, with the opportunity to move on to a more partnership role. This role, I was active in a different company. So from Channel Engine, I went to a loyalty software, where I set up the German market, so the DACH region, where I was responsible for sales and partnerships, leading a team, being in a cultural different environment.
Mhm.
So when I already started in 2017, I was already responsible for the UK, for Germany, for France, and I got a lot of influences and a lot of experiences of how to deal with certain countries, with people within certain countries and different cultures, which was very interesting. So I always was responsible for an international side of the business, and at Piggy, I was really responsible laying out the strategies, using all the experience I had to get the good results, of course. And from that role on, when a strategy change in management occurred, I found, let's say, a Retail Rocket. I had conversations with them already for half a year before I actually started working there. And here I am looking to expand, let's say, the partnership side for Retail Rocket as a whole. We're a Retail Rocket group now. We have 3 different products that we offer. But my role specifically is being responsible for every single market in Europe, to set up a partnership strategy there, and to make sure that the partnerships happen. So this is, of course, a very, very diverse role, and you need to work with people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different ways of working, which makes it challenging but also very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know why, but apparently, it is like very like hot topic nowadays. All these relationship or ecosystems manager roles, and in fact, I think this stresses the point of like the importance of like building this long-lasting relationships with like clients and partners across different countries. So I think your role must be very interesting, no? But also very challenging, as you were saying. Have you noticed so far, because you say that your role at Retail Rocket is kind of recent, have you noticed already something, some of these changes in between like different solutions in e-commerce regarding their country of origin? what's your take on this so far?
You mean the difference of how people react to changes in the
Yeah,
e-commerce environment,
yeah,
or okay?
yeah.
Yeah, there is there's a change. There's a difference between countries. Of course, every country strives to have a technological advanced way of working. What we see in the Netherlands, for example, is that we try to run faster than we can adopt things in
Hmm.
software, and of course. It is an exciting thing. We try to be very much in the front row when new things happen. When you compare that to, for example, in Germany, where things are more traditional, more a little bit
Hmm.
more conservative, that's not a problem, of course, because it also makes sense to let other countries or other companies run fast, and then we'll see once something works, then we'll adopt this as well. Of course, you have the
Yeah.
early adopters, but there you already see the difference in how some companies and how some people work. Um, I've been having conversations with people in the German tech branch multiple times where they said, I like the changes, but I'm not sure if the people in Germany are ready for this yet. We love it. Let's do it step by step. So, for example, one
Hmm.
of the differences, if I talk from my personal life, when I go skiing in Austria, for example, or I go to
Hmm.
Germany, a lot of things still happen in cash. In the Netherlands, that's not normal, so I don't wear cash on me. So I really need to change myself and my attitude. Okay, if I go somewhere like Austria or Germany, I need to bring cash with me, because in a lot of places it is still better to have some cash on hand than your
Hmm.
card. Because let's say sometimes for parking you cannot even pay by card. You need to pay by cash, and that
Wow. Yeah.
this is just proving that some things change, but per country it differs how they change, how fast,
Hmm.
what their attitude towards it is.
Yeah, definitely. And this is like straight into the core of what you do at Retail Rocket, because correct me if I'm wrong, you do personalization. No, you help e-commerce to uh, personalize what they are offering to their customers. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you exactly do at Retail Rocket?
Yeah, of course. So as I mentioned, there's three products that we have at the moment. So one side is the personalization side, where we basically track the behavior of our customers. So this also works across borders, because this gives us a lot of information. So people in the Netherlands, for example, have a certain behavior that they show in their buying, in how they look for products, what kind of things they are interested in, and based on that, we make a personalized offer. So that instead of segmenting. So this is a very
Hmm.
curious thing that we can maybe go in later as well. So
Yeah.
instead of segmenting, we really go in, what is Oscar really looking for? Why is he looking for this? And what did he already buy? So making sure that we give you a recommendation based on products that you actually like, in your
Hmm.
size, in your favorite colors, etc. Because we try
Hmm.
to track that information. The second product is a loyalty, let's say, customer retention platform. Really
Hmm.
designed to set up loyalty strategies, to set up, let's say, ways to communicate with your customer, making sure that you do not invest just money in getting the customer once, because that is a waste of money, or not a waste of money, but it's way more expensive by a fivefold,
Hmm.
I think, to invest, let's
Wow.
say, in a new customer or retaining your current customer.
Yeah.
So the loyalty platform is really designed around that you can use gamification, that you can use specific rules, that you really can attract the customer to your brand and also keep them there,
Hmm.
with relevant information, with relevant strategies. So we help the customer in their strategy setting as well, based on the experience that we had so far in the past 10 years. And the third
Hmm.
product is something that is quite recent, is ad technology. And what I mean by that is that, of course, if you go to a certain website and you see a certain advertisement, it depends on what you want to see. For some customers, while we use the data and the behavior of the customers to make sure that the ad that you show them is actually a relevant one. If you're looking for coffee, let's say on a specific website, we're not going to show you a T-shirt, even though a certain
Hmm.
brand is offering it. So what that means for our customers is that they can sell ad spaces with our
Hmm.
software that are actually relevant to the customer, meaning that the conversion rate will go up, that it's not annoying to the customer because they're getting ads that for products that they're already looking for. And for example, you show them an ad of a shoe. And you think, oh, this is such a nice shoe. Then you click on it. Of course, you also want to make sure that the ad they see and the shoe that they see is of the right size. So if you have a size 42,
Definitely.
for example, and you see a nice shoe and you click on it and think, oh, I want to have this, but there's no size 42. So why show the ad, right?
So what's the point? Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, even your three different solutions, it all comes down to getting to know really who the target is, and then out from there, like personalize, and then do the other two services as well. But I'm very interested in the part of the behavior, which I'm very keen on this topic as well. So, what can you tell us about how do you sort of like gather the data
Mhm.
to get to know the user, no, the target,
Mhm.
and so be able to provide all your solutions. How do you do this behavioral analysis?
Yeah. So what is good to know is that we're working with 35 different algorithms, or 36. We just recently added a full
Uh-huh.
look, a total look algorithm that basically for fashion brands offers the total look, so based on your preferences. As for
Hmm.
the data gathering, the companies we're working with, we really advise them to, if they have multiple touch points with a customer, it could be online, it could be offline, it could be by mobile device, it could be by email, by any means necessary. This data will then be collected in the CDP, in the customer data platform. So all this data will be gathered from every single touch point. So the every single touch point, for example, someone
Hmm.
pays at the cash register. This can be registered to see this customer bought this and this product for this and this
Oh,
price.
wow.
Price range could be this, but of course that requires some integrations. So the more touch points there are, it could be for an online shop that you can connect. It could be, let's say, the cash register. All these data points where the customer is identified will be then gathered, and from that point on, we can make a profile as complete as possible. So we can also see, for example, okay, this customer Oscar, he is really active on the phone, not really by email. So does it make sense to send you an email, or more likely maybe a WhatsApp or a SMS, if that of course is how you want to be contacted? So
Hmm.
of course, we need to make sure that everything is GDPR proof, and make sure
Hmm.
that everything is yeah, well documented. In that way, every country has their specific rules on that. So we need to very carefully adapt every single time that there's a new rule. But in essence, all these touch points, wherever you go, after the software is installed on certain, let's say, devices,
Hmm.
we gather the information to make your profile as good as possible. Because the more we know, of course, the better we can offer recommendation, but also the better we know what kind of behavior is tracking between certain countries. So if you want to expand internationally, we kind of have the data already. In general, this and this happens. Customers behave in a certain way. Our algorithm keeps learning also based on region. So you know how people will react, so that it becomes easier to go cross borders.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really amazing. In fact, I mean, these behavioral changes in across countries. I mean, I would really love to see that like in motion, because it would be like amazing to really, uh, like realize that, for example, I am a Spanish brand and I want to go somewhere in Europe or whatever, and thanks to Retail Rocket, I could actually know what's going to happen there before landing. So that's a really amazing, software that you're doing. So really good job. Could you tell us, related to this, what's the any success story related to cross borders? If you can tell us the name of the company or not, because you know that here in in Europe we love NDAs and everything. So could you tell us something related to this that could
Yeah,
like sort of like round up this illustration of um, how you personalize and recommend
yeah.
when cross borders?
Yeah, of course, of course. So one of the examples is, for example, Decathlon or Decathlon.
Uh-huh.
Pretty well-known brand. They before we were in contact with them, they had their own way of personalizing information. They did a lot of segmentation. They did some small personalization features in their websites. Um, but once we started with them, we were looking. Okay, we see that you do these personalizations on name, for example. You have some blogs that you're offering, but the recommended products were always based on someone's thought. And this is something that happens in fashion a lot. People say, I've been working in here for 40 years. I know exactly what to combine with what preferences people have. And that is interesting. A lot of times it could be right. It could be right. But we support it by data. So we check the data and actually see, okay, maybe the red shirt doesn't go with the red pants, but maybe the red shirt goes with, I don't know, a snorkel. I'm just saying something.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
The data will then show what people actually will connect with each other. So when we started working with them, they already had a very nice tool in place. So improving data, let's say improving conversion, improving average order value, etc. For a company like Decathlon, even a small percentage would be a great increase because they do a lot of
Of course.
so with them, we did an increase of 5.2% for the conversion. We did an increase of the
Wow.
same amount for average order value. Overall, their revenue rose by 10.7%. So for a company like Decathlon, that is a very, really interesting case.
Hmm.
As for the cross borders part, we're working with Mart Visser. Mart Visser is a fashion brand in Netherlands. They also try to sell in Germany. They also try to sell on different platforms. Um, worked for them is, for example, the mass emailing. They had their own their own system for it. Their own recommendations in there were not as up to date as possible. So based on the behavior that the customers of theirs showed, we could really recommend the products that were actually interesting for them. So
Hmm.
this case hugely improved their results for the mass emailing, for example, because
Hmm.
a lot of companies send out newsletters. Then they say they did the same newsletter for everyone. But with the tool, you can make a newsletter for everyone personally, meaning
Hmm.
a specific newsletter with products, let's say for you, a specific newsletter with products for me, for everyone, different product based on their behavior that they show and based on the regional information that we have. Um,
Hmm.
so you can personalize
Yeah.
as, let's say, not just in segmentation. We group everyone together and we think these products are our best sellers, so we need to push that in the newsletter. Maybe you already bought one of these products, so then this product is not relevant anymore. So improve the personalization, go into hyper personalization, as we like to call it, and make sure that it's specifically for you.
Yeah, definitely. So I like this like difference in between like data behavior versus segmentation. No, it's like a really, really good like difference that I think that you are um like really mastering about this. And what about uh going back to the to cross borders? Have you noticed any like behavioral like country-wise or country or across countries that you could sort of like make it general, or is it all comes down to the person? I mean,
Mm,
um have you noticed any trends in like different countries? Because apart from also doing um, retail and fashion, you do also work with other sectors.
yeah. True. So it is like you said, it's highly dependent on the sector. It's highly dependent on the branch, on the specific kind of store, the awareness people already have about a certain product. But also within countries, there's just a lot of different differences. So it is really difficult to generalize. You have a specific trend you can see in a country, of course, but that's based on the country as a whole. You can really go deeper in the let's say how people behave, and then you would do some segmentation. The
Mhm.
one of the benefits of the tool itself is that we really look specifically at what you are doing. So yes, country trends are very relevant. Group trends are very relevant, but we also like to look at a specific behavior of a person. And it could be
Mhm.
that some people in Germany behave the same way as people in Spain, people in Italy, etc. So where the trends that we're seeing, for example, we all see now the effect that the situation in Ukraine and Russia, how it affects inflation, how it affects people's buying power, how it affects a lot of other aspects in life. So between countries, you see also how people are acting differently on the budget that they have. If everything
Mhm.
becomes more expensive, what will you spend your money on? People are behaving more wisely with their budget, meaning that companies also need to make sure that they
Mhm.
spend the money the best way they can. Um, with that, of course, it is more wise to really make sure that you know your customers, and if you know your customers, you can really play and offer them that exact thing that they want. So the cultural differences or cross-border difference in there, it is, you see trends, but it is so individual that you
Yeah.
cannot, let's say, have a saying generalized. Everybody in Germany does this. Everybody in Netherlands does this.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
simply not possible anymore. And I know that from a lot of people see Europe as one region,
Yeah.
but this is so interesting. And then I keep telling them, well, it's one region, but you have 27 or 30 different countries. Everybody acts
And languages and culture and everything, especially for people from the US, now that they see us Europeans like a whole bunch of like people living there. And but then, especially US brands that want to come to Europe, they have to realize that first of all we have like country difference, culture difference, language differences, but then and that's especially what you do at Retail Rocket. We're talking about individuals now. We want e-commerce, or we want brands to talk specifically to me, not to I am Spanish, whatever, or I am uh, from the Netherlands, whatever. No, so that's really like the turning point, I reckon, when you understand that cross border is not just like a macro whatever system or model, but it comes down to the person, to the individual. No, and that's what you do at Retail Rocket. So that's amazing.
One of the most interesting and funny examples is that if you do the segmentation, for example, there is this one picture that says, okay, we have a person 52 years old, we have a person that lives in a castle that is earning a lot of money, etc. And then you compare the people in the group. You have Ozzy Osbourne on one side and Prince Charles on the other side. Basically, you could not just put them in the same group or bracket on how you connect, yeah, communicate with them. So you really need to go into the individual person, as you said. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that's a very good example. I'm going to use that in my classes. I'm going to steal that. And what about as a company, Retail Rocket? Because you said that you started, or you're based, or you're founded in the Netherlands. What's your own internationalization process? So, what were the first countries that you um, started having clients in? I reckon the Netherlands, obviously. But then what about your own cross border strategy? How are you managing your helping other e commerce, European or worldwide?
Mhm.
What's your strategy on that?
Yeah.
Your own strategy on that?
My own strategy. So as let me start with Retail Rocket as a whole.
Yeah.
We're based in multiple countries across the world. We have a nice branch in LATAM as well.
Oh, okay.
European branch. Our developers are really scattered around the world. The strategy that we have for Europe basically is a strategy of expansion, of course. One of the main problems that we're faced with is that people do not know us, which is also with a reason, because we like to be behind the scenes, offering the companies the tools to thrive, make a thriving e-commerce strategy or a thriving go-to-market strategy. So we stayed on the background for a long time, which of course makes sense that we do not have a lot of brand awareness. So this is where my part or my role comes into play. I'm really focused on making sure that there's a lot of partners that we work with across regions. So one of the four main regions that I'm working for right now are Italy, Spain, Germany, and the Netherlands or Benelux, with a side note of France, the UK, and Ireland is also very, very important region, but it's still in the process to come. Part of the partnership strategy is partly to go to market. I am looking for partners that are well known in the region, that can, for example, introduce us to different partners that are relevant in the region, but also looking, for example, for ecosystem partners. We are offering a certain service, but we do not want to do everything in a certain service for marketing, for example. So we're looking for companies that offer services that would basically have the same business values, that have a similar idea of working, similar way of working, and try to incorporate them in the ecosystem, so that when customers come to us, then we can offer them the whole solution. So you're looking for an e-commerce strategy. Well, this part, do you have logistics covered? Do you have translations covered? Do you have marketing covered? Do you have all these bases covered? If not, we can also help you connect you to the right partners in that network. By doing that, that's one part of the strategy. Of course, we want to be more interwoven within the regions, so people get to know us. Secondly, also we want to be to be seen. So we are trying to go to events, make sure that we organize our own events, making sure that the brand of the Retail Rocket Group, as we are now, is known. And of course, this is a very long-term process, and we realize that. But it also makes it nice and challenging, because the contact you have across regions, as I mentioned, there's 4 different regions, but in these regions, people act in a different way. So how do you find partners in a specific region? How do you interact with them? I know for German partners, they're very strict on time, etc. Everything needs to be clear and everything needs to be worked out. Some partners in Italy, for example, they are more loose, like we don't need a contract, everything's fine. Let's just work in the way that we like to work. Nothing about, let's just focus on this. So it is very interesting to work with different companies from different countries.
Yeah, and we are back again at the national models now of like the way of like even all of us being in the same sector, sort of like e-commerce, and but there are still like I would say country differences now when making business, even if it is in the same sector. And related to this, what's your take on the on what's to come, like in the e-commerce sector? Because obviously, and we cannot like stop talking about AI and everything. What's your take on this? Because I know that you have sort of like introduced AI into your workflows or into your solutions. Could you tell us a little bit more about this, please?
Yeah, of course, of course. So we have AI personalization in our tool, which the algorithms are part of, meaning that we really learn more about our customers so that we can give them the best advice. The AI is interwoven in that. In combinations that I see, let's say the e-commerce going towards, is everything will become more personal. Because it is possible now with AI. So you have a very interesting tools, for example, conversational AI, that when you have contact with a customer on your website or any kind of other means of working or having a touch point with the customer, you can have a live chatbot that immediately answers the right questions for you, or can help you, guide you towards a certain thing that you're looking for. One of the examples here is that one of our clients, they had a lot of customers going to their website, their furniture place, and searching for IKEA table.
Ah,
So we're like, okay, why, how IKEA table? What does that mean? Because they're not IKEA, so they don't sell IKEA tables. Um, Eventually, by learning, the system figured out that by IKEA table, they meant small white tables. So
oh
in the
God,
search bar, when
yeah.
people type in IKEA tables, automatically we see, do you mean this white table, for example? So learning on the behavior of people, even when something is, let's say, completely opposite of what someone is selling, but they mean to look for something, and the conversational AI is then also helping in, did you mean this, giving better examples. So of course the system's still learning, everything is still learning, and I
Hmm.
see e-commerce basically becoming more and more personalized for every single member, that you are actually helped with what you're looking for, that you're actually guided in the right way, that when you mean something and you cannot bring it into words, still the tool will guide you to find your
Hmm.
answer, to basically help it, to make it more personal. So you don't have someone on the other side of the table, and then you try to explain something and the other person doesn't understand. So with
Hmm.
the AI, doesn't matter if you're talking with a Spanish person, an Italian person, or anything else. It learns how to communicate with you
Hmm.
specifically, what you're looking for, and basically helping you in the best possible way.
Wow, that example of the IKEA table, it is actually. I was thinking when you were like explaining, I was like, yeah, maybe if I was asked about what's at the IKEA table, I would say the very same thing, not the typical one, like the little one, the white one. No, that's
Yeah, yeah,
amazing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Wow, and now going into, because we're talking a lot about personalization,
Mhm.
about recommendation or loyalty, but I am very very interested in this customer experience, no, in this how do you help e-commerce in the loyal aspect? Like, if you could give us some example on that,
Yeah, of course.
because retention, as you know, and as you said already, it costs way less than, than having a new client in. So I am a big advocate as well on customer experience, no, and retention and loyalty. So how do you help e-commerce on that aspect?
Yeah, so retention is a very, very important thing. As I mentioned before, one of the things that we're doing is we have the data, so we try to make it visible to see who are your loyal customers already, who are the customers that might be your VIPs, the most value customers that you have, who are
Mhm.
customers that might be VIP, but maybe you're already losing them because they haven't bought something in a long time, or they haven't
Yeah,
interacted with you in a long
they're
time.
sleeping customers. Yeah.
Sleeping customers, for example. So we categorize based on the data for every single store themselves or every single company themselves. Who are the customers, and how are they? With which category do they fall? So for every single part of these customers, you can have a different strategy, and we advise to have a different strategy for that. Because for, let's say, in the communication with a VIP, you need to communicate very differently than to a sleeping VIP. So we help devise strategies for our customers, and we really intend to do that as much as possible, because we have the experts already in house working with companies already for years.
Mhm.
Meaning, why not use us to do this? And so this is why we incorporate that in our service as well. So we go to your store, we check, okay, this is happening. These kind of touch points do you have? We make the data, let's say, manageable, that you understand what's happening
Mhm.
with the data. So of course you can see data in a lot of different ways. Someone sees a number and makes that something completely different than what I would see, for example, give a different meaning to that. So we try to incorporate everything, and based on the knowledge that we already have and experience, we help our customers devise a certain strategy for a certain person. But that can also mean between borders. So what we see in, for example, in Spain happening is that, okay, you have interaction with a certain customer, you need to use a different kind of strategy or different kind of
Mhm.
recommendation, different kind of anything than you would use in a different country. There you have, of course, based on the behavior, the trends that we talked about briefly, you still personalize everything, but you make it a more general personalization.
Mhm.
So the way of interacting and why we help how we help customers is by also offering the loyalty part. So the retention itself is making sure the customer feels valued, they feel noticed. As you mentioned, you want something personally for you. So I would not send you an email, dear first name. No, that's not
Of
why.
course, yeah. Yeah.
But you already know that you're one out of millions. So the
Mhm.
more personal you make that in the connection, the more you feel valued. In other ways, for example, with some companies, we're working with the loyalty scheme. The loyalty scheme, if, for example, you this is a restaurant, they have multiple different products they offer. You earn badges. You make it a gamification. You
Yeah.
earn badges.
Yeah.
Then once you have tried, let's say, the whole range of sodas, then you have the soda badge, or you're like an expert, or
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
be, you become you get a new rank in, let's say, in a fashion store. So you start off as a bronze member, then you're silver member, gold member, and gold member have, let's say, for Black Friday, they have first choice, first pick, so that the products that they want are actually still there. So you can give them monetary or physical or even digital rewards for their behavior. So you can make sure that they become part of your community, part of your tribe. And this is where it is interesting to use, let's say, a loyalty platform or a customer retention platform to really see, okay, I want to make sure that you feel welcome, happy, etc. as a client. But
Mhm.
then I cannot do that as a whole generalization. I need to make sure that you specifically, Oscar, are happy with my products. That is, of course, the quality of the product, but also the service. How
Yeah.
this is where we're finding companies to work with, that help with customer service, because
Mhm.
that is also part of the experience. The whole
Of course.
sale is just one little part. You buy
Yeah.
something, but then the whole after experience. Maybe something went wrong. Okay, that can happen. It can always happen. But how
Yeah.
is the service afterwards? If you just buy a product and then like, okay, you bought the product, that's it. You don't care anymore. That's not how you retain customers. You need to make sure that every step of the way you're there, not just holding their hand, but making sure you guide them in the right direction. So then, for example, you're looking for to return a product, also make it as easy as possible to return a
Mhm.
product, or at least help them guide them towards how they can do
Mhm.
it. So they're not just left there. So
Yeah.
that you value them, and I think this is part of how, let's say, the software sales also is going. You have the funnel in a bow tie, the whole process of looking for information, looking about what do you want, eventually you buy the product, and then it's the after sales. And again, you have, let's say, the follow up, you have the support, you have, let's say, maybe recommendations based on what you want, what other products could be interesting, but you guide them and make sure that they are part of the tribe. Some companies say, okay, I offer 20% reduction. Like, but why? Why are you offering 20% reduction? You don't even know what the customer wants. So
Yeah.
why are you offering something when you don't even know why they are here, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, because at the end of the day, what we all want is recurring customers, happy clients, and especially someone who didn't know us, like thanks to Retail Rocket, for example, to sort of like push them down the funnel, but also not just stopping there at the purchasing, but going back to, to this brand awareness, brand loving, and everything. No, that's very interesting. And now something to make it clear. Obviously, you do e-commerce, but do you work with with other industries as well?
Yeah, of course, of course. So as I mentioned, we also work with FoodTech. We also work
Uh
with,
huh.
say, we have a case now with insurances. We have a case with
Oh
banking,
wow.
where we're now with the travel industry. So because of the range of products that we have, a lot of things are possible. So even with insurances, you can still, after a payment, let's say you take an insurance, there could be a very relevant things that you need to think about that you can then recommend, or you can make it personalize it, making sure you see
Yeah.
if someone bought a specific property like house or car or whatever, you know that, okay, they might need insurance, or they might need a certain other service as well, or
Mhm.
something that they give them information so that they're informed. So based on all these factors, again, you gather the information about the person and make sure that they get the necessary information, necessary
Mhm.
recommendations, so that everything is in order afterwards as well. So, for example, maybe a customer is building an extra part of their house. It could be for multiple reasons. Maybe you know that they're going to have a baby. So maybe that's why
Mhm.
they're doing something. So based on that, you can give better recommendations. For the travel industry, for example, it's something that is very interesting that they've never not really done as well. So there's some companies doing, let's say, loyalty. There's some
Yeah.
companies, but they have it in a very basic way. So the way we're communicating with them now is also they did not see the point. But if you increase your average order value, or let's say there's everybody in general in the Netherlands buys a holiday 2.2 times a year. If
Mhm.
they only buy a holiday at your specific company for 0.8 times a year, what does that mean? That means that you can still have a lot to gain
Mhm.
in the whole market, let's say. Um,
Yeah.
so you can still improve that, and even improving that by a percentage point, 1 or 2%. That's still a big increase if you look through, let's say, the information and the amount of travels being booked. Um, so also there we're looking at loyalty. Okay, how do you retain a customer? Of course, a customer looks for the cheapest option, but that's not always the case. So we look at the
Not
data.
always.
They,
Yeah.
they look at the recommendations sometimes on the site. So recommended for you is this holiday in Spain, for example. But if you already live in Spain, you do not want to see that, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes. So there is a lot to gain in this industry to better serve your customers and make sure that they return to you. Because if you
Mhm.
give them the right recommendation, not just a hotel because they paid to be on top, that's very nice, of course. But if then the experience of the guest is worse because the hotel is not good enough, or for example, that hurts your chances of the customer coming back to you because they
Of course.
associate it with you. The hotel experience was bad. Why? Because they do not do aftercare. How was your experience? How was your stay? Please help us improve. Or there is some
Mhm.
emails going out, but it's never really personal. So
Mhm.
it's just general email. We set this up as a company and we send it out, and let's see if we get feedback. A lot of people don't even want to send feedback because they're like, yeah, it's fine. Only if it's very negative. In most cases, people actually give feedback because they are really
Yeah.
annoyed with what happened. So we're working with different industries as well, and you see either the part of recommendations, part of loyalty and retention. Retention is a very interesting topic everywhere. Banks, for
Mhm. Yeah,
example.
definitely.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, data behavior can be applied to any sort of like purchasing action. That would
Yeah,
be product, services, whatever. And yeah, because obviously we know each other from the e-commerce, so that's why I wanted to make clear that it's not just e-commerce, but also other industries. And it's obviously, I mean, it is. It makes a point. I mean, you can be applied to any sector. And going a little bit back about the feedback that you were saying now, what's about social proof and social feedback? How do you treat that? I reckon that as a sort of like a sentiment analysis or sort of like a data point as well that you get into one of those 36 now algorithms that you have. How do you treat this feedback
yeah.
and reviews and everything?
Yeah, so feedback is also something that will be gathered as data. So
Mhm.
in the way that we're incorporated, you can incorporate our software is also with, let's say, a customer service software. So you have the CRM in our software, so you can see every single touch point with the customer. Also when they left a review, also when they mention something to support. All this data will be gathered and also can be used. So you know, for
Wow.
example, someone was unhappy, so I can really use that feedback and improve the service. So of course, it's up to the companies that work with us. But what we also always advise is you can only lose a customer's trust once. Once you lost the trust, once you lost the experience, it is very, very difficult to get that customer back. Because why? They have a bad experience with you. If you're not a necessity, let's say, for example, like food, if you have to have something to eat, customers will not come back because they have the bad experience. Because for you, there's 10 others. So the feedback is very important. And because we gathered this data, of course, it's essential that you connect, let's say, the systems. But with this data, you can improve your service as well. What we see in specific trends, we see based on what customers are saying, but also our customers are saying, we try to improve our tools. So what kind of metrics are still not available? Why are they not available? Maybe we can make them available very quickly, or maybe not. It depends on what is used. But also we work with feedback to improve our service. Same as every single company needs to do something with the feedback that they get. To remain relevant, to remain, let's say, ahead of the competition.
This does not mean that every single company does though. And
No, no,
and
no, no.
what's this? Yeah, what's this integration process? Because I mean, to me, which I'm not like an expert on like obviously on anything related to SaaS or programming or whatever. Ha, imagine that I am an e-commerce or a bank manager. Well, no, maybe not. But anyway, how would I and how long would it take to integrate Retail Rocket into my company?
It really depends on the scope. So imagine, let's say there's the bigger enterprises, they have a specific PIM systems, like product information management system. They have a specific ERP. They maybe, if they work in multiple regions, then they have multiple ERPs. Maybe they're working with some Excel sheets somewhere. Maybe they're working. It really depends on what kind of systems you're working with and how and what you want to integrate in the first step. We always advise, if you want to do this, you can make it the whole project and integrate everything before you go live, or you start with something that is easy and small to see the results, and from that moment on you work towards the next one. So it can be a process of days, it can be a process of weeks, and in some cases it can be a process of a year. It really depends on the scope that what you want to integrate. So one of the examples is there's as a company that has 4 different POS systems, like points of sales. So they have 4 different systems. If you want to integrate that, that's already takes some time. Then they have a Shopify website, then they have a Magento website. So they also have per region a different kind of website. So also that takes some extra time. And then there's maybe a customer service system. Maybe there's a PIM system. All these kind of systems need to then be integrated over API, or if we have a ready connection with them, it takes less time, of course, because then we can use the plugin. But it really depends on the scope. So we have customers going live within a week. We have customers going live, because it's a longer process, within a year or a few months. It really depends on the scope. And this is also where we're working with some partners that have experience with us using our APIs, but also connecting to them. One of these fine partners, for example, is Next Chapter. Next Chapter is a Dutch e-commerce suite. They got a lot of requests from their customers, or some requests from their customers, that they needed to integrate with us. So they were like, okay, let's communicate and integrate. And now we have an integration ready for some of the services, and we're improving on that right now to get more of their services integrated. So meaning that next customers of theirs can immediately use our services without, let's say, having to spend a lot of time. Of course, it's integration one part, but then we need to also lay out the strategies. So this is also where we help, and our customer success team is making sure that as a fashion brand or whatever, you have a certain idea of what you want to use as strategies. We can with that, but we advise, make sure that you let the algorithms and the AI do their job, because it is based on the data. So yes, you can still push, let's say, okay, I want still this product first. That's fine, but make sure that the recommendations do their basically their work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we need to let ourselves be in on like advised by experts. You know, it also happens to us when someone wants to go cross borders and like to so many countries, and it's like, okay, let's do it like within a strategy, and for phase one, phase two, phase three. So it makes sense also, obviously, in your case, that depending on the touch points, on the data collection points, obviously, as many touch points, the better, but you have to do that within a strategy. So
It,
that's definitely makes sense.
it,
Yeah.
it, it is something very interesting. I think that the overall census is a lot of companies want the results immediately. They want to see
Yeah.
results tomorrow or today. And the strategies to go across borders, it requires some let's say some more patience. Yes, you can have results, but some companies might think, okay, let's try it this week. If it doesn't work next week, we're gonna quit it. But then you don't even see the results. Same with, let's say, the customer retention, the way you behave with the customer. It is a long-term process. They are not going to trust you immediately. No, you need to do some actual work, invest in the person for them to come back. Yes, it won't work with everyone. There's always people that after first purchase don't come back. But for the people that do feel the value, that do see what
Mhm.
you're doing for them, they will come back. So it's always for the long term. And this is where a lot of companies that go cross borders have some trouble getting the right results because they focus on strategies. It needs to work tomorrow. It needs that, and if after a month it's not the results, why not? It's never that the process takes time. No, it is something is not being handled well enough. Some people in the company are not doing a good enough job. There's always, let's say, the people that are too impatient, and this is where you see a lot of companies that do not make it across borders because they either cannot invest of the time, that's also possible, or the impatience that they see the short term only, not the long term. So
Mhm.
I had a company I was working with a while ago, and they said, if you're working already in Netherlands, we're doing this. So if you go to Germany, you need to do at least 10 times that. Like, why? What is this based on? Yeah, Germany is bigger, a lot more people, but okay. But okay, that's interesting. But why? Yeah, just because of the number of people. Yeah, yeah. Okay, but you do realize that for Germany, it's a completely new market. Nobody knows us. In Netherlands, you've been active for 10 years. Yeah,
Mhm.
that doesn't make a difference. Like, are you sure? So it really, some people, they need to see the reality of what it is to actually go to a new market and have the
Yeah.
time, not expecting unrealistic things, because the unrealistic expectations make it that you are dissatisfied, and make it so that you change your strategy again before really seeing the effects of it. So just an example of how companies
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
expansion towards a different country, and how you need to really look at the specific situation specifically and have a specific strategy for every single region that you go to. Not we copy that's what we're doing here, copy it there. Doesn't work.
Definitely. We need to do a lot of education also, and yeah, to make them like clients and brands be realistic. No, as you said, I do completely agree with that.
There's
Um, to finish off, Rutger, uh, can you tell us what's the future of Retail Rocket? Are you planning new countries, reaching new countries, or are you planning to do like to incorporate new solutions into your portfolio? What's the future look like for Retail Rocket?
Yeah. So there's multiple things that are going to be different in the future. So one of the things is we're continuously updating and adding new algorithms that are proven to be successful. So for example, the last example was the complete look algorithm for fashion brands. We're trying to incorporate that now also for home deco or something else. So based on your preferences, you have your shirt, for example, you're looking for, and based on that shirt, we give the recommendations of the complete look that, based on your taste and behavior, might fit you immediately. So you don't have to,
Hmm.
let's say, the tool learns to give you the complete outfit.
Hmm.
So these new algorithms are one part. The second part is for example, the connection now between Retail Rocket and SailPlay. So at the moment, they're two separate systems, but
Mhm.
we see a lot of value if they are incorporated with each other. So if
Mhm.
they, based on, let's say, the behavior of the customers, you can also see immediately what kind of loyalty strategy will work. How would you communicate? What time would you open your email, for example, or what is the best device to connect with you? How can I make sure that based on the information that I have from you, I can give you a better experience and better retention for our customers to communicate with people. That is also a part. The second part, the third part is I really want to go to new markets, and that is very, very interesting and very, very good. But I
Mhm.
want to do that in steps. I do not want to
Yeah.
rush anything because, again, patience is key here. And if we're going to rush anything, some things, it might have some results. That is definitely true. But how can we make sure that the experience of our customers is well enough? How can we make sure that if we expand exponentially in Germany, for example, we have enough German support? We
Mhm.
need to do that in step by step. Same with Italy, same with Spain. If we do not do that, then we're going to lose customers. It needs to be out of a vision in the long term. So, first, building the brand, getting awareness, getting a few customers extra. Then, from those customers extra, have a lot of nice cases that we can present, have social proof for our customer, for new customers, and then step by step, because then it also makes sense to improve, let's say, get more teammates, get more people active in Retail Rocket, and grow like that. Have a, let's say, healthy grow.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Strategy at the end of the day, no? That
Thanks.
this is something that we have been talking all through this episode. If I were to summarize this episode, I would be saying data, behavior, and strategy. That would be my three
Patience. Patience is also very.
patience. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
just mentioned
yeah.
every. Yeah.
Definitely. So, Rutgher, thank you very much. But before finishing, I would like to ask you two questions. First one, any anecdotes, personal anecdotes that you have had related to miscommunication across languages, across cultures?
Oh yes, definitely. I think one of the major anecdotes that I can have in this part is I worked for a U.S. company
Mhm.
um, that saw Europe as one region, and they mentioned, I don't understand why the sales are not going as quick as possible. Why are we not selling in the Netherlands and Germany, for example? But what do you base that on? Well, we did an interview or a presentation in Paris for a group of almost 1,000 people. But we're not selling anymore in the Netherlands or Germany or Spain. I said, yeah, but that makes sense. How do you mean that? What does that make sense? Well,
Mhm.
if you're known in France, it does not specifically mean that you are also known in the Netherlands or in Germany,
Yeah.
because it's one region, Europe, but it is a lot of different nationalities, cultures, and people with different languages. So there's the miscommunication there, and it was really difficult to persuade or explain why this is such a difference, because they see the EU as one block, meaning one block is one way of getting known.
Yeah.
Um, so there was a lot of miscommunications there. If it's of language, um, I had an example with a German company way back in let's say my one of my first years when I was working. Um,
Mhm.
the translations I made for a specific legal document, and it is of course very, very strict in everywhere.
Mhm.
The translation I made for a certain term was completely mistranslated and meant something completely different, although it could be in a certain sense be the right translation. Um,
Mhm.
but because of the way you nuance things, you
Yeah.
formulate a sentence, it can mean one thing or the other. And the way I formulated something meant something completely different. I'm not go into the details there, but basically the legal document had to be revised a couple of times because of it,
Of
and
course.
questions. I would formulate a certain thing in a certain way.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm not going to go into mistranslations because we wouldn't finish. In any case, could you recommend me to contact someone to invite into this podcast? Someone that you think that could be very interested or that has like a background in this cross borders internationalization, someone who it could be anywhere like any company that you would say that has like a strong international presence or that it's about to that could provide like some value to our listeners slash viewers.
Yeah. So there's two things I can recommend. First of
Okay.
all is the book Culture Map by Aaron Meyer. It is
Ah.
really interesting to see also how different cultures behave in certain ways in meetings, in ways to communicate with each other. I really recommend that. So Culture
Mhm.
Map by Aaron Meyer. As for companies that are doing well, let's say internationally, and having a focus on how to behave with customers from a different region, I would recommend also to talk to Channel Engine. Channel
Mhm.
Engine is also one of the previous companies I work with, but they have a very nice international strategy.
Mhm.
They have a lot of different people from a lot of different cultures working in the company,
Mhm.
meaning that they also had a lot of ways how to interact with your own colleagues. And if you learn how
Uh-huh.
to interact with your own colleagues from a lot of different cultures, it also helped with the international and global steps that they're taking.
Mhm. Fantastic. So, Rutger, it has been a pleasure. I don't know if you want to finish off with something that we haven't discussed that you think that we're missing, or we leave it here.
Um, I think most of the things were already discussed. Indeed, um, it is what I will give with to every listener is if you're looking to expand internationally or have questions of how to handle certain expansions or even cultural differences, make sure that you always try to look from the perspective of the other person, because the way you communicate doesn't mean that the person on the other side hears the exact same thing that you hear. Um, so one of the examples that has been there throughout my life, you think that you're communicating a certain way, and for you it makes so much sense, but for the other person listening to you, they perceive it in a completely different way.
Mhm.
So try to explore how you communicate with certain people, and how what message they get or what message they receive from you.
Fantastic. So, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And I will be seeing you very soon. I reckon in some of the events that are going to be happening uh, very soon, either in Spain or in Europe. Thank you, Rutger. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Oscar, and it has been a pleasure indeed.
Okay, bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.